Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Geeks Worldwide special review of the Lego Batman movie. I am the real Brad Bell here with you live, and I just want to say it is great to be back on the air with DGWW. It's great to be back on there doing news. I want to thank Casey, I want to thank Will. I want to thank everybody over there, Joe, for their support, Danny, Darren, who's been killing it with news. And I'm glad that I'm in a point where I can be back active with the team. Many of you remember me, you know me from the Capes podcast. Maybe you know me from being a news editor way back in the day and just pumping out comic reviews like crazy when I had the time to. But just help where I can now and hope to be as active as possible with moving forward. But enough with the welcome back on my end. Let's go ahead and get started to the big event here, and that is a mini review of the Lego Batman movie. I just want to say this is going to be a spoiler-free review. So if you haven't seen it, if you're worried about getting spoiled for a Lego movie, don't be worried at all. I may spoil some things as far as the tone, the emotion of the film, and maybe just a little tiny things. But as far as overall plot, I'm really not going to spoil it. So without further ado, let's get started. Lego Batman was a kind of spin-off of the Lego movie. The Lego movie, of course, was huge, made a ton of money, kind of caught everybody off guard. Everybody thought it may just kind of be a cash grab for kids, but it ended up being a big hit. And now Warner Brothers is trusting Chris Mckay directing and Will Arnett to come back and voice Batman as he so elegantly did in the Lego movie. He's Batman and he's big and he's bold and he's the main focus here. So let's go ahead and get into my thoughts on the film. And I'll wrap up. I'll give you a review on the Geeks Worldwide rating scale 1 to 10. So everybody loves this movie. It's no surprise. This movie's got like 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's going to make a ton of money. I don't know what the exact number is going to be at this point, but expect it to be up there. Wouldn't be surprised if we get a sequel. And even though they got the Ninjago Lego movie, a ton of other feature Lego movies. This is a hilarious movie. Hilarious. It will make you laugh whether you're a kid, an adult. There's no like really rude humor or anything like that. But if you're a Batman fan from any era, whether it's 66, whether it's the Burton movies, the Schumacher movies, the Nolan movies, or even recent BVS, this movie, especially early on in the first 20 minutes or so, it pokes fun at all those properties. So it's a equally offending Batman movie, and that was probably my favorite part. There's one joke in there where Joker and Batman are having a conversation. Joker's voiced by the one and only Zach Galifianakis, where Joker is talking about a plan, a plot he has, and he said, this is going to be the ultimate plan. And then Batman, or maybe it was another side character, said, you mean like the plan with the two boats? Obviously referencing the Heath Ledger Joker plan in the epic Dark Knight film. So that made, as Dark Knight is one of my favorite movies, that just really made me crack up. There's also a reference in to the Prince balloon plot, parade plot of the 89 Batman. So poking fun also at all the Jokers, including the Jack Nicholson Joker. There's one problem I kind of had with this movie, and it kind of goes along with the title and the actual post on dgww.com. It's not the Batman movie we deserve, but the Batman movie we need right now, kind of playing off that whole Dark Knight thing that a lot of Batman fans like to quote. And what I mean by that is, let's face it, BVS was so dark and grim. The Ben Affleck Batman was a cold-blooded killer. I enjoyed the take on it, unlike some people. But with that being said, it was good and refreshing to see Batman go back in a a much more fun tone. I know what you're thinking. It's a Lego movie. Of course it's going to be a fun tone. But just this movie does get serious, and it does interject emotion, surprisingly so, for being an animated Lego movie. But the emotion is there. And it was refreshing to see emotion with humor interjected into a Batman film. And that was awesome. Now, let me get to one thing I didn't really like, and that is that this Batman is really self-absorbed. He's full of himself. I can do it by myself, which I know Batman always is until he later, learns to accept the Bat family. But he's caught up in the fame of Batman, kind of like all about the fame and not as much about the game as the Batman that we all know and love from the comics or even the Ben Affleck movies, the Nolan Batman, the Keaton movies. He is very self-aggrandizing. He basks in glory. He loves over-the-top entrances, almost like villains would usually like. So my fear here is, and I'm kind of channeling Jeff Kanata from the Slash Filmcast. I love that podcast. Shout out to those guys. Inspirational to me. But he was talking about on their show, they didn't actually review it, but he had saw a screener of it or a press showing. And Jeff was saying he was afraid how this could be a kid, their first exposure to Batman. And I kind of have that fear too here. He acts more like, and there's some pokes at Iron Man here, which I guess makes this a little bit, even a little bit more weird for the Batman character. He kind of acts more like a Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man than he does any Batman that I've ever seen, where he is a know-it-all. He doesn't have to rely on anyone. But I've already touched on that. I'm not here to deconstruct Lego Batman too much, but that was the only negative I had with it, excuse me. But other than that, there's a lot to like here. Zach Galifianakis's Joker is phenomenal. You know it's him, but you're not like, oh, that's Zach Galifianakis. He kind of gives a take on the Joker more than Will Arnett does on Batman. And his arrival in the beginning of this film, and I'm not going to get into it, but it is a action set piece that involves a hijacking of a plane. I know, kind of going Dark Knight Rises there, but it is really, really good. And the opening scene of this movie is action-packed, has you on the edge of your seat. Then right after that, they hit you with a lot of referential Batman material, and it is just, it's phenomenal. The first 20 minutes, as I said earlier, are just great. I like the beginning of the movie, that action set piece, more than I do the actual ending action set piece, although that is good, and I will not spoil that here. But I love Zach Galifianakis's Joker. I want to talk about Bane. It wasn't Tom Hardy voicing Bane, but there is definitely a channeling of Tom Hardy here. I looked it up. It was a voice actor. I think his name may have been Benson, may have been first name Tom. Excuse me if I'm getting that information wrong. But it is clearly channeling Tom Hardy Bane. And every time Bane speaks, it is absolutely great, and will have fans of Dark Knight Rises and just the Nolan verse getting a good chuckle out of that. So again, remember, it's meant to be fun. Let's talk about something that this movie does have, and that is character growth. And they do it in a big way in the form of Michael Cera's Robin, voiced by the one and only Michael Cera of Superbad fame, and Rosario Dawson, who is a voice in Barbara Gordon. It's no surprise to any Batman fan, DC fan, that she is going to become Batgirl. No surprise there, and she does. And just her journey and the empowerment of a female character. If you're a young girl taking your daughter or somebody maybe to see this film, you realize pretty quickly that there's something very aspirational about the path that her version of Barbara Gordon takes. The whole Michael Cera thing, he's great. He's hilarious. He's definitely more in the Burt Ward mode than he is, let's say, the Chris O'Donnell or some of the Robins from some of the darker straight to DVD DC films. So he brought some much needed levity to it, because sometimes Arnett's Batman is just like boom, boom, boom in your face, and it's like, okay, we get it. You're macho. You're full of yourself. Where this movie really thrives comedically is just seeing Batman do the everyday things that you don't see Batman do in most Batman film or comics. Like Batman, you think Alfred always cooks his food, but there's times when Alfred's busy, and there's a great scene where Batman's microwaving food, and that has to be one of my favorite parts of this movie. And I think everybody will enjoy that if you go to see it. And I do definitely recommend seeing it, but we'll get there in a second. The big overarching kind of journey of Will Arnett's Batman in this film is that he learns to rely on others. He learns to accept the Bat family. If you're one of the people that is more a fan of the Bat family than, say, just solo Batman, like my good friend Barbecue 17 co-host Jerry Reed of the Confirmed Epic podcast is, I know that he unfortunately his daughter got kind of angsty during this, and he had to leave the showing, which is one of the reasons we didn't do a podcast on it. It's just me here. So, but he's going to go check it out later. We'll surely talk about it later. But a side tangent there. If you're a fan of the team, the family, the Bat family, you are going to absolutely love this this Lego Batman film. And just the journey that you take to get there is absolutely phenomenal, and I highly recommend it. We have a few viewers tuning in live. I appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much. So what would I rate this film? If you're on thegww.com and on the post, you see that I gave it an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. And I highly recommend it, whether you are taking your kid to see it, whether you're going to go see it yourself. As I said, I saw this with Jerry and 2 other friends, and Jerry brought his daughter. So I kind of had the added benefit there of tagging along with somebody that had a kid, in case anybody was, hey, let's look at this almost 30-year-old in Lego Batman. But you'd have been surprised by the number of adults there. But walking out, loved it. 8 out of 10. Again, my only fear is somebody sees a self-absorbed Batman as their first Batman. But that being said, the hero's journey that Will Arnett's Batman takes from that self-absorbed Batman to a full-fledged member of the Bat family kind of makes up for it. And it's definitely why I say go see it in theaters, and why I give it the score of 8 out of 10. Thank you for tuning in and checking out this mini review. I'm the Real Brad Bell. You can find me on Twitter at the Real Brad Bell, the REEEL Brad Bell. You can find me at thegww.com, where I help Darren over there from Geeks Worldwide with news. He does a phenomenal job, him and Danny B over there, with getting news up daily. And I'm glad to kind of come in and especially on the weekends, I'm able to help make things easier on them. I post all my personal podcasts. I have a personal blog, The Epic Review. Some of y'all know about thepicreview.com. So you can check me out there as well. But until next time, from the Hollywood foothills of North Carolina, go see Lego Batman. I am out.